My guest today is Bior, and I won't try to pronounce his name. We'll get into that a little bit later. But Bior is actually a poet. He lives in North Adelaide. He's just released a new book from South Sudan, and you're actually quite an inspiration to me. I know you through mutual friends, and so I'm very glad to have you on my podcast today and have a little chat about your life and where you've come from and where you're going. So thank you so much for coming.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
So Bior, let's start off with so where are you from? What's your background?
So my background is South Sudanese origin and now Australian. So I came to Australia at the age of 4 as an unaccompanied minor. So South Sudan is in Eastern Africa, newest nation actually. Got the independence recently from the north. So now it's North Sudan and South Sudan.
Mm-hmm.
Predominantly northern being Muslim nation, and then Christian based in the south.
Really?
Yeah.
What was that? There was a lot of wars and conflicts going on, right?
The conflict within the fight with South Sudan and North Sudan is a fight for freedom that began in the 1800s. It's now in the 20th century. It's finally stopped, and now the nation is moving to nation building.
Yeah, right.
It's having its issues and working to with a peace agreement to run the first election.
Really? Yeah. And are there two governments in place at the moment?
At this moment, the governments are, I think,
like temporary caretaker ones? Or?
Yeah, temporary caretakers, yeah. However, there's political parties who are now forming, preparing for the future elections.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
Exciting.
Yeah, right. So what do you think about that? How do you think that's progressed? Is that...
For me, it's like the nation building part is what's paramount. There's a lot of people from South Sudan who are ready to build the nation, but it's like, how do we give the people power and opportunity to be able to start change? One example is the South Sudanese basketball national team. They just bet Tunisia 10-year streak or something.
Yeah.
And they bet them twice.
Yeah, right.
No African nation's really done that yet. And they were the top, in the Afro basketball.
Yeah, right.
And now South Sudan in the qualifiers for the FIBA World Cup for basketball, they were undefeated. They just killed it. Young, and they're all young players. Some are 21, 22, and then they all play professional basketball and everything. A lot of them are Australian players.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of them are Australian. And it's good. And that's directed by the national basketball team director, which is Lloyd, who played for the Chicago Bulls.
Okay.
And yeah, so he's doing good. He's originally from... He grew up in Britain, actually. Yeah, he grew up in Britain and then went to America and got into the NBA.
Right. And so what do you think so qualifying as South Sudan, what does that mean for the country that's forming and establishing itself? What's your kind of impression of what that basketball team means for South Sudan?
For South Sudan, it means a lot because it's maybe one of the first times now we're going to see South Sudan in the world stage already,
Yeah.
I recently saw an article, the South Sudanese chess team or club, they bet India. They're beating countries in chess,
Yeah, right.
in a national stage, in whatever form it is to build national identity is good. But then also now a country identity within needs to be built.
I think that's so true for Australia. In terms of the amount of gold medals that we win at the Olympics or even the Paralympics and other national events like the Commonwealth Games. It is interesting how identity forming sport can be for a nation.
Yeah.
And how important it is. I think it's often overlooked.
Yeah. With the Romans,
yeah, absolutely.
It began from there. And then it's just civilization. So just building from something that's common.
Yeah.
So it's good.
And being a citizen, yeah. And then having your own identity.
Right.
Yeah. That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
I never thought about it in that kind of way before in the the importance of sport in nation building or
Yeah.
I mean, it's important, right? But and every city has their own AFL team or the rugby team or whatever that they take pride in. But
yeah, it can come in many forms from the values we hold.
Yeah.
Sport can bring that. And that brings me to like my upbringing in Adelaide. It's been a search of identity and purpose and individuality and respecting different communities and understanding them as well, and understanding my own community.
Mm-hmm. So when did you move to Australia?
2004, as an unaccompanied minor with my relatives.
Right.
We
How old were you?
I was 4 and turned 5 upon arrival, or
Yeah, right.
during transition coming here.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was 4
On the
years
plane.
old. On the plane.
You had your birthday on
So
the
I
plane.
had my birthday on the plane. Yeah. Went to Dubai here. There's all the paperwork just transferring over as a
Yeah.
I
Do
was
you
a
remember it?
humanitarian visa.
Do you remember?
There's a lot of like, I feel like I experienced a climax in life that you probably experience in your 30s. The whole devastation of change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm leaving my parents, not knowing why, thinking that they're on the next plane.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's like, am I going on a short trip? As a 4 years old,
It's a holiday.
thinking it's a holiday. But when I was then in Australia, I was like, whoa, I'm never seeing that place again.
Yeah, right.
For a while.
It's gone. Have you been back?
No.
Yeah,
I
right.
haven't. So I'm planning to. That's gonna be like big eye opener.
Yeah.
It could change my life. You know.
Something
Know
I
that,
think
yeah.
I think it's we do a lot here in Australia. Like you came out here when you were 5. It's essentially the only country you've known. And even I do it, and I think everyone else does it as well. It's going, I would say, you're from South Sudan, right? And that's quite an identifier for other people. How do you, and you said that you were from South Sudan and now you're Australian.
Yeah.
How do you think that identity, when did that identity kind of take hold? Did you always seen yourself as Australian? Is that how you label yourself?
Yeah, I do label myself as Australian because it's what I've known, and I've grown up here for 20 years. And not only that, it's a question of what makes you a citizen. What makes you a citizen is like what values do you believe the communities hold to be cohesive? And a lot of it I see, especially in Adelaide. Adelaide's a small place, but big dreams, big things are happening.
Yeah.
And the community is huge here. It's about cohesiveness, Not everyone in the public could have the same ideals. However, the structure pushes for cohesiveness, the societal community structure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And that you talk a lot about identity. For you, when you talk about identity, when did you do you still have that struggle?
Yes. It comes up every now and then,
Yeah.
Whether it's in any social interactions or having to help the gap or make an understanding of the gap. But then I think to myself, we're all humans.
Yeah.
We're going to have to figure a way to be cohesive. So it's ever going, like keeps on going. But do I? Yes, on odd occasions.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But otherwise you feel like quite comfortable and accepted and integrated, yeah.
Yeah, very integrated,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
And so why did you come? What's that story?
So that story is my father has 6 wives.
Right.
And they broke up they divorced. And being the firstborn from my mother, which was the 4th wife, my dad said, you have a better opportunity if you were to migrate over to Australia.
Yeah, right.
Because the refugee camp wasn't doing any justice to anything as well.
Yeah.
So that decision was made without me knowing what's going on. It was hard. It was hard for them both, but then it's like a greater sacrifice for good in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And did your mum come over with you?
No.
Really? So it's just you?
It was just me.
Oh, crap. So
yeah.
So,
both.
And who did you come with? You said you went with
my relatives. Yeah, uncle and his family. Still living here in Adelaide as well, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hectic, I know.
That's hectic, yeah.
Yeah, I had to try to comprehend that and then get ready to comprehend life.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I left home when I was 18, joined the Air Force, and then moved to Adelaide for that reason. And obviously that was very different circumstances because at that stage I was seeking my independence. Did you? And I guess are you grateful for that?
Yeah, so grateful.
Yeah.
So, like, especially in my writing, I said, opportunity, you have to look at it as an optimistic faith, So like a revelation just popped up. That's why and divinity is like a divinity.
Yeah.
And I talk about divine intervention. I'm like in primary school, I'm like, damn, the way I'm set up, how am I going to survive primary school?
Right.
You know? So I was like, but I have a choice. I can knuckle down now and worry about the future later.
How old
if
were
I
you
put it-
in primary school talking
I
about?
would be like 12. Well, how old would I be if I was in, sorry, I wouldn't be 12. When I'm
Yeah,
in year
yeah.
5,
Yeah.
it's like 8 or 9. Is it
Yeah,
year 5?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. In year 5. It was in year 5, primary school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, year 5.
And yeah, so you made that choice then.
Yeah. Because nothing around me was making sense. I wasn't getting answers of where my family is or, you know, out of my family trying to get me not to think too much of the priorities of what is going on.
Right.
But me, I already made a decision. I'm here
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to have to work hard, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that. Yeah, well, they didn't quite understand it because I'm young at that time. And I'm like, yeah, it's true.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. So it was like,
And did you know what you wanted to be? Did you know what you wanted to achieve, from a young age? Like most people want to be a firefighter or a policeman or...
I started as a soccer player. I was really good at soccer.
Yep.
Yeah, phenomenal. I used to play with a Wehrma Bill and everything.
Right.
Yeah, like we used to, and Thomas Deng.
Yep.
Who now, we're playing for the Socceroos. Deng captain the Socceroos at one stage.
Mm-hmm.
But they're now playing international. We're in the La Liga. And then, I don't know where Thomas went.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Asian competitions.
And so that's kind of, you were training for soccer and you were...
Yeah, that was my outlet and where I found passion and profession, you know.
Yeah, right.
And then I moved on to basketball. I thought I'd get tall. Did the same thing in basketball. And then...
What'd you say? You thought you would get tall?
Yeah.
You're very tall. But
no, but that's
not
the
tall for
thing. Like,
basketball,
in my ethnicity, 6 foot is short.
right.
Is really short.
6 foot's massive.
Yeah. I know. So, so the average height is like, yeah. But the thing is, dating back, being a 7 foot in my nomadic culture was very common and very normal.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but then as time goes, the genetically we're just getting a bit shorter.
Yep.
But yeah, the land of the tall, dark, and skinny.
Yeah,
Not
tall,
skinny,
dark, and skinny. Nice.
slim. You would say slim.
But
yeah. So
when well, when you talk about your culture, is that something that you try to understand?
Yeah.
More and trying to bring that with you and make that form that part of your identity.
Yeah, definitely, because I feel as a communicator, I have a duty to help open dialogue and help navigate dialogue, into the right form.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying. But I know I'm also doing that with 2 identities: the Australian identity and then my home country identity. And then the identity I see myself in the world, how do we build it's hard to get individual identity, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having to have I'm figuring it out as I go because I'm still young.
Do you feel like when you walk into a room, say if you're talking on your background or what it's like to be someone from South Sudan, or if you're walking into, because I know you're doing some keynote speaking and things like that as well.
Yep.
What do you think, or even today, what's your predominant identity that you feel like you're resonating with? Because I know what you mean. Like I have, everyone has different faces that they kind of go through, right? They have different facets or different Henry, right? I'm doing a podcast or I'm on Burnside Council or, I'm a lawyer in court.
Yeah.
And then there's me joking around. What do you
Right.
resonate with the most?
Right. It always comes back down to my creative side. I was using art as a tool for voice. And when I'm keynote speaking or I have a poetry show, I bring it back to the community. And because if an individual could understand themselves of how they fit into a community, they can start to unpack who they are. So I begin by opening up those discussions, and then I tell who I am and how I am. And then the conversation just can go anywhere from there.
I think so. Community is a word that you use a lot. And for me, particularly as someone who in the past, I suppose, has attempted to build community, it can be very difficult to actually understand what that is. Yeah. Because I don't really have a relationship with my neighbors. I live in a flat of apartments and I get in the lift with them, right?
Yeah.
And I say something, I've got 15 seconds or whatever to say something silly while I'm in the lift, right? What does community mean for you from your perspective?
For me, I think I'm talking on a, like a I wouldn't say global or just a wider community sense of values.
So
What
a word you use a lot is
Mm.
community.
Yeah.
And what does community mean for you? Because I think for, even I'm responsible for creating community
Yeah.
as my role as an elected member,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be difficult to understand. So,
Mm.
I'm interested to see what you think community is.
Yep. For me, community is proactive collaboration of individuals and also like okay. So let's say I'm just in general public.
Mhm.
A stranger might be walking past or I don't know them in any sense, but at the end of the day, they're part of the wider community that I am in. So a community is built by foundations, and those the foundations can uphold certain values and whatnot. Then how do you create it? You create it by like what would you call it? Advocating those values through different creative ways.
Okay.
Yeah,
So for you, like a community is a shared set of values that
yeah,
everyone can relate upon or
yep,
be a part of, I suppose,
yeah,
and recognize each other as
yeah,
being part of the same
yeah, and it's
group.
adaptable because like as humans, we're all different.
Mm.
We're all different, and we all have different homes. So Australia does good in that. It's multicultural.
Mhm.
However, bringing awareness to these things is we do it a lot, but the importance I think needs to be fleshed out.
Okay.
Yeah, the importance of that.
And what do you think we could be doing better in terms of creating communities?
I feel like
What's missing?
what I'm doing on my part with platforms that I have is giving light to individuals who do that in their own way, but they haven't got that recognition in a way.
Yeah, sure.
Like, for if it's a creative, if it's a person in the community that wants to impact in a certain way, I'll see what resources I have and then help them get to their goal.
Mm-hmm.
I do that a lot. I do that within the youth a lot, and I do that to anyone that seeks and asks. Knowing that me as an individual, from where I'm heading now, I had to do the background work to even have opportunity to give and also provide something that will generate change.
Yeah, for sure.
Or work to change. Yeah.
Well, so actually, let's go to your last name.
Yeah.
First of all, how do you say your last name?
Aguer.
Aguer.
Aguer. That's the quickest way to nicely pronounce it. However, in my dialect is Bior Aguer.
Okay.
So it's more even like aggressive. It's like Bior Aguer. So it's like it's all in one. But Bior Aguer is to get the syllables very very tough.
Yeah, right.
But
and
yeah,
what's the heritage or meaning behind it? Is it?
So for example, okay, like the Chinese, they have dynasties, right?
Yeah.
So my name Bior is so it will be my great grandfather's name. Is the head of that dynasty, and this dynasty is a dynasty that has I can't remember. There's a whole sheet, but it has a number of clans,
Mm-hmm.
and then my name Bior is after him. He was Bior. That's what.
Yeah, right.
He was Bior. He was Bior. So like before I was born, because my dad's name is Aguer.
Yep.
And
his first name was Aguer.
Our first name's Aguer.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that the great grandfather.
So Aguer is not a family name.
No.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Aguer is a family name.
Right. That was your dad's last name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've got like stems. There's Aguer. There's like a Jang. Yep. These are all brothers.
Yep.
Of the father who is Bior.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like a relap of the dynasty. It just gets
repeats. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
my polygamy and everything goes on.
Right. Yeah. Well, because my name's actually Robert Lloyd Henry Davis.
Yeah.
And my father's name was Robert Henry Davis.
Yeah.
So we actually have I don't know. It's interesting seeing that even in South Sudan and Australia, like my father was from Canada. The idea of legacies and continuation of family lines is something that's probably ingrained in us as humans, and I think very much defines us.
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. and yeah, ever flowing, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, do you want to tell me a little about your book? So, what is it?
So this book, Divinity,
Yeah.
it's an adaptation of me finalizing the message I wanted from the first book, Journal of Refugee.
Yeah.
They're both available on all platforms, and I'm looking to launch a website for it.
Yep.
Which is good. Pardon me. So Divinity, you've got my face there, and that looks like a man that's got something to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm trying to walk into what I envision. I had a vision young. I was like, damn, there needs to be change somewhere, you know. From all the different experiences that I've experienced, from all the different adversity, you can name it all. I've had it from deep depression, from like not talking for a few months to sometimes going for a year, and then people saying, "Oh, yeah, you're very strange. Why don't you talk?"
Yeah.
And with me, I'm like, I think I'm cool. I'm internally developing.
Sure.
You know, there's a lot of trauma that I learned. I found a way to counsel myself and get past depression and by the self, by the mind. I don't know what was guiding me. That's why I call it a divine force.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said divinity. And then that's on my face is a man that's actually got something to say.
Yeah.
Divinity. So that's the purpose of the book. And then the poems in it tell a passage of a person that's journeying to finding themselves.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so you define yourself as a poet. And that's not something that many people do anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason why I got into poetry is like, in a way, in whatever way, I'm going to try to communicate a message. But then...
How'd you get into poetry? Because when I learned poetry in year 8, I hated it. I just wanted to watch Harry Potter or whatever, and then they would bring in the bloody old TV screen, and that was a good day, right? And then they would try and teach us poetry.
Yeah, the craziest thing is, I never thought I would write anything. I was bad in English.
Yeah, right.
I was like a DC student.
Yeah.
And then I decided to focus in my studies and became a straight A student. You know, did English studies developed me, and then my degree with Bachelor of Journalism, professional writing, giving more hindsight to my communication skills. I got a long way to learn, but I'm just going with it.
Was there anything that captured you in poetry? Like, was there a poet that inspired you to get into that? Or is it something that you always saw yourself as independent, that you wanted to take control of that space or express yourself through that medium?
It's always been independent. And I think that's how I construct myself, because there was one time the coach asked, think of yourself of like who you want to be, like a Michael Jordan or something. And then I put my hand up. I said, what about if I want to be like myself?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I just said that randomly, because for me, that my mindset is like, why would I want to be like someone? Or, okay, you can draw inspiration. That's cool. But end of the day, you can't be like someone else. And you can only like imitate in a way.
Yeah.
If you find your uniqueness, then you find your strength.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what the book touches as well. It's very interesting.
I think that's so powerful, because I think a lot of people are struggling to define themselves by looking at... I think a lot of people are searching for what their own identity is, and they look to define themselves through other people.
And it can also be materialistic stuff.
Yeah.
Could be ideas that they pick up, you know. Could be a home structure, like the family. Could be turmoil. That's why I'm trying to use my...
They're trying to get out of their skin.
Yeah, trying to get out of their skin. That's why, like, for me, it's like, it would be like a disservice to others if I don't share my story, because a lot of people can gain some insight on how they can see themselves and find themselves. It's like, all right, everything was stacked against me from birth, you know, like from, getting my driver's license, from finding a job. It took me 3 years to finally land my first job.
Right.
You know, from learning, I knew I had to make sure I know how to be independent.
Yeah.
No, yeah, because it was just not going to happen, you know, unless I did the discipline. 2021, I felt drained out, you know, because I tried everything and sacrificed a lot to get to stepping stones. I'm just building foundation. And I think I'll be building foundations for the next 1 or 2 years before, because the crazy thing is, the first book I wrote in 3 days.
Really?
Yeah. So it was during COVID, and I'm seeing all these different parallels of identity crisis going on, and the issues around the world. Everything's going bad. And then I'll think to myself, the people who look like me have a chance of now understanding who they are. I was like, okay, I need to put this into pen. But I was like, I can't write a book because a book won't allow you to think critically and emotionally. So I said, I have to go into poetry. I have to be creative with it.
Oh, really? So that
Yeah.
people could have a smaller single
Yeah. So
idea to think about
it's universal. I try to see a universal way to communicate this.
to communicate those ideas about self-identity.
Yeah. And then I went from a book.
How fascinating.
Yeah. So I went from a book to short film
Yeah.
and then to music.
Yeah, right.
So I have these 3 forms now.
So, yeah, as a lawyer and a politician,
Yeah.
my idea is to say as many words as I possibly can. Right. So, and it's similar, right? So my job is communication.
Yeah.
And what a fascinating idea, because you flick through your book earlier, and they're quite short. They're not lengthy poems, and so it's about I'm learning that it's about communicating a single idea in a way that can then be attached and understood.
That's right. And I formulated and designed my own way of writing that no one knows. I've shown a few people, but there's only 1 or 2 people I've shown. And it's very complex. It's like it has 12 editing processes 4 times.
Okay.
From the design to the finish, it has 12 edits in those 4 stages.
Yep.
And then I take a week off, and then I do my own self analysis, and then it produces what it produces.
So so do you have the idea of the thing that you want to communicate first?
Yep.
And then develop the poem around that?
Yep. Develop that. Have meditation of like how I feel about those, because the thing about poetry is your stories are coming from experiences. So you don't have to do too much detail, statistics, and that. You can put them in to help your story, but the human story is always good when it comes from within. Yeah,
sure.
And that's where people can be inspired by the message.
Well, can you take us through a poem? And
sure. So there's 6 chapters. First one being the divine self. You can already see where I'm taking it.
Yeah.
What is the divine self? Journey within. When you identify it, how are you going to journey within? And then loving me. Love is a pivotal to a lot of things in life. And then divinity defined. What does it mean when you've defined the divine self? And then finding myself. Now we're here at finding myself.
Okay.
And then there's one here called Talk with a Star. Metaphorically saying that obviously you can't talk to a star, but me,
I do.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So me physically talking about the star's depiction, but metaphorically hinting that I am that star in whatever things I do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Talk with a Star. We can share that one.
Yeah. Do you want to maybe read a poem?
Yeah.
And we can have a chat about its meaning. Yeah.
Can do that.
It would just be so fascinating to get your kind of perspective of something. And
all right, let's do it. Where is it? The thing is, I know this poem from the top of my head.
Yeah, you can.
That's the thing. Like, and then I knew like the editing process ingrains every page in my head, and the editing process allows me, every time something comes up, the quote already comes again, and it's like, oh, this is why I wrote that quote, so I can easily communicate those past experiences at any time. Yeah, because me also knowing the poems by heart. I can now perform. I'm a performer.
Absolutely, it forms part of your.
Yeah.
I know a couple of poems, but by heart, and they actually. Before we recite a poem, I've found that there's a few poems that I've memorized, and they do truly, and it's interesting because when you're at school, they encourage you to memorize poems and things like that when you're there, and I always thought it was a waste of time, but now when I'm an adult, memorizing those things actually then become part of your soul, I think.
Yes.
And the lessons that's in there becomes closely related to you. So it's kind of just my view of the process of a poet. It's kind of you're taking part of yourself out, and then you're kind of almost reabsorbing it back into yourself. And it sounds like you're doing that until they're kind of one. That's right. Yeah. Have I got that right, or just making stuff up?
That's completely right. That's completely right. And I'll make an announcement is this is like a trilogy. So I'll have the first one, I have the second one, And then the third one is going to be called Revelation,
Great. Yeah.
coming out in 2023. Currently designing the interior and exterior.
Yeah.
This one will be 500 pages of poems.
Really?
Yeah.
500 pages. Yeah,
Like,
right.
next level, different from how I wrote this time. Because this time I'm not leaving the reader questioning things.
Yeah, sure.
I'm bringing it face value. Like, I'm just telling it how it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Descriptively, instead of metaphorically. I use a lot of hidden messages and everything. Where I can always just draw a quote and then and help use it as like, it's like
It's ready to go.
my library, It's
Yeah.
like my library. It's like, okay, how am I going to explain this to you? Okay, pick this one up and I explain it to you. And then I use that in a mentoring capacity through schools. I do school workshops and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, can you take us through one of your poems?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, Talk with a Star, it goes like this. Conquer fear, they say. Could it be my calling to take on the world like Moses and Joseph? The bright star stands tall. I hope to outshine those around me. Through the darkness, your beam against your rival, darkness and weakness. A gravitational field of energy. On a game day, you're ready to play. Grown day by day brighter than 10,000 suns, although your performance may be dim at times, you remain through. A lighthouse for my dreams. The source of light evoking my sight, for without sight there's no presence of sunlight. Without a vision, there's no dream. I look upon you like this dream of mine during our time under the stars. Before we both diminish, I hope to leave a legacy.
Amazing.
Thanks, yeah. So it's like I'm taking you to the life cycle of a star, but I'm indirectly speaking about my dreams.
Yeah.
And who I see and how I'm going to find myself. And, when I say I hope to leave a legacy. It's
doesn't matter how bright a star is if you don't have the vision.
Right. It's crazy. And without the sun, then there's no life. Like, it's crazy. You know? And when the star blows up and leaves radioactive, it's like you are that.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Isn't that it's the strangest thing that you're literally made from a star?
Yeah.
Everything in this studio has come from, because our star is like a third generation star.
Yeah.
It's exploded twice before, reformed, created the Earth.
Yeah.
All the plutonium, oxygen, hydrogen has all come from crushing and like a star.
Yeah.
I find that so incredible,
and
right?
at the same time, the star fuels this star on, this planet.
And then lets it grow and after millions of years, somehow we popped up.
Yeah. And we are like a symbolism of the whole universe.
Yeah.
So it's like, think about it. You can try to look at who you are from a blank materialistic way. Let's say that, or you can look at it in a bigger picture. When you look at it in a bigger picture, you start to bring out your true self.
Because I think that's to find kind of I don't meditate, but what I do is I really like going outside. And the parklands are great for this. I just go for a walk and I'll just sit in the middle of an oval and look up and I consider how little small I am. Yeah. How teeny tiny of a thing. Because you look at something that's light years away, that's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
Some of these stars are like the size they're our sun, but they're all the way out to the size of Jupiter. Right? These things are massive.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's expanding and all that. It's crazy.
So it kind of puts your own little problems in perspective in many ways.
Yeah.
But then again, it's also the problems that I have on a day-to-day basis are the most important thing to me. Yeah. Even though they're so insignificant, but they're so massive as well.
Yeah, because what I've also learned in this stage of my life is the surroundings that you have around you and the environment. It's like your environment shapes you. Okay, cool. But then we have the issues, the little things, the normal things of life we experience as humans, whether it's through relationships, whether it's work, whether it's family, that you can't bypass those things. So there was a quote that I said, I have many friends shadowed by acquaintances. Friends come and go as their mask falls. And then it goes, without a shadow, there's no substance. This is true for purpose. Now, let's say this table, it can reflect a shadow. It's an object, it's a thing. You are a part of the universe. So, but without understanding that, then you want to understand your purpose. Yeah. Purpose can be in different forms.
Yeah. What do you consider purpose to be? I
Purpose
guess
is
what drives you. Yeah.
what drives you and finding what you love.
Mm.
But identifying what you love is a whole journey.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. We're gonna have to go to the journey of life.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know if I have the answers yet.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's I've always been very grateful for my parents when they said, like, from a very young age, from the age of 5, they always told me, Henry, you're going to be a fighter pilot.
Right. Yeah.
And so my life was planned out. You know, I
Yeah.
knew exactly what my purpose was, what I was supposed to be doing. I was meant to join the Air Force and become a fighter pilot.
Mm.
And it didn't go that way.
Yeah.
And I've done something completely different, right?
Right.
But still, I think having that vision or purpose or objective has always been really helpful for me.
Mm.
And that's given me a lot of confidence, and it's been so much easier to make decisions.
Yeah. There's always a gain in any path you take, and there's always a lesson, you know. And then you just build.
Mm.
That's what I've had to do. That's why I have my hands in different sectors, but I'm refining it.
Mm.
All those sectors just help the mission.
Yeah, right.
You know.
So tell me, what do you love about Adelaide? What do you...
What I love about Adelaide the most is the community is great.
Mm-hmm.
People are welcoming. You just feel the sense of community straight away. Even a lot of people that come here from interstate tell me that, wow, it's like a little village.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
If you don't take it literally, you can say it's like a village, but it's like a village because of the people, even though it's huge.
Yeah.
It's
And do you
big.
think that's different from other places?
Yeah, it's so different. When I
Right.
first went to Sydney, I was like, no, I'm ready to go home.
Right. You
It's
didn't
so
feel that sense
fast.
of community?
Yeah, it's just fast paced. Yeah, fast paced. I didn't really understand the community, but I know it's so big that, for example, in Melbourne, there's some people in certain places in Melbourne that won't ever go to this certain place because
Sure.
communities are very large.
Yeah.
You know, everything just happens in that area. Some people in the suburbs might not even ever need to go to the city unless it's work or things like that, or there's a festival.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you might not have an answer for this, but what do you think it is that creates that sense of community? What do you think is the different vibe? Because I've been to Sydney recently, and I walked out of my hotel and everyone's going somewhere very fast.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing something today.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything today. And so I didn't feel part of that because I wasn't sure where everyone was going.
That's right. It comes back to how the community lives and cohesively works.
Or sees each other.
Or sees each other too. So yeah, like in Adelaide, we are busy, but we value togetherness, unity.
I guess you always feel
they
seen.
value it too, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess you always feel, I don't know, I feel seen.
Yeah.
So if I come into a coffee shop with someone looks at me or whatever, and they recognize me, or, you know, they don't necessarily talk to me, but they look at me and then continue on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm present there, where I'm not just being ignored as
Yeah.
people aren't just a whole bunch of, it's almost like if you go into a circumstance or go down Rundle Street where everyone's so focused on what they're supposed to be doing, you can see they're in their own head.
Yeah.
And I feel to an extent that people are outside of their head. They're seeing what's going, they're present, and then they are looking around, they are involving you, even if it's just a glance or a look.
Yeah, that's the good thing about Adelaide. Adelaide is home because that's how I operate as a person too. But what I like with Adelaide as well now is it's understanding that point, and it's moving into creating great opportunities for the community as it keeps expanding.
What do you think Adelaide could do better?
What it could do better? Have more festivals.
More festivals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have more festivals. Or it's a people thing. I mean, the Adelaide show is coming up. That's great. COVID had stopped it a few times, but Adelaide show is one big thing that not only brings Adelaide together, but also brings people here.
From internationally.
Yeah, internationally as well. The Adelaide Fringe, you know. Yeah. I think that's going to be key for Adelaide's future.
Yeah, and you have and that for you, that would build that community.
Right.
To get us working together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, great.
That's what I see, yeah. In terms of in politics, they're doing well. They're doing as they can, you know. But yeah, that department we're going to be really handy.
More, and maybe not just in March either. But spread it over the year.
Yeah. Have something going like every 2 months or something.
Yeah.
And just like film. Okay, the film industry is looking like Adelaide's becoming a hotspot. So just keep growing that. There's a film festival actually this Friday. know,
Okay. Yep.
a multicultural film festival, you know,
Mm.
with the city of Port Adelaide City Council.
Right.
So like it's brand new. It's its first time opening, and it's gonna just grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna grow. That initiative is just like, yeah, great. It's bringing film in the forefront of people. You know. So it's
Yeah, those types of activities. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
All right. So, if I want to buy your book, Divinity,
Mm.
or even your first book, Story of a Refugee,
Mm.
How do I buy it?
So at this moment, they're available online. However, I have the shop.
Mm-hmm.
Divinity, I have the shop, but then they can either message me on Instagram. However, I have a website coming up, but these are all available on all platforms online: Google
Okay.
Books,
Yep.
Dymix, all around the world.
Yep.
So that's third parties sell it, and I also have the distribution rights. So it's available on all platforms.
Yeah,
So
fantastic.
Amazon. It depends where you get your book. you
Yeah,
know.
sure. Wherever you get your books.
Yeah.
Great.
Or
Well,
you can just message me, and it will just get print on demand. So I'll be able to just go to your address.
oh, I see. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Easy. All right. Well, thank you so much, Bior, for coming on today and sharing a bit about your story. I find that absolutely
good.
fascinating and inspiring. I love the idea that your poems are to convey an idea or a single message, something that I really like as a communicator in my own right, as a lawyer and as a I suppose budding politician. So being able to in maybe less words, I suppose, and using words more selectively to communicate an idea is something that is really interesting. And I think so many people are searching. They're looking to other people for who they are, to define them, and
that's right.
And what you talked about, defining yourself rather than defining yourself through other people.
Other means, and that's why, like, I was drawn to journalism as well as law. But those avenues are there, but they're hard to master. I guess they take time. I'm still going to pursue them, but this is another way that I can just keep on going and get the ball rolling. I will end.
Please end with another poem. That'd be great.
Another poem, 2 pages of the book.
Yep.
This is from defining self. Across worlds torn from my homeland, the fragrance of displacement I confront with discomfort. Salvation arrives with my infinite mind and heart. My mind is a limitless canvas of creation. As my third eye glides open, my artistry springs to life. What the mind radiates to the universe attracts my art to life. I am a musician playing the greatest song, searching for my true self, racing to a destination unknown. The clock continues to tick. I found my divine intervention by finding myself. I have countless encounters on my ventures outside myself, attempting to study the chaos around me. That's the first page. You see how I just opened so much dialogue in just the small words. But yeah, so that's
amazing. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate your time today.
I enjoyed it. Yes.
This has been a great conversation, and I'm absolutely looking forward to reading your book.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thanks
for having me.
Cheers.
Oh, good.